So, as I did mention earlier, this next talk is about localized and accessible infrastructures and it being the key to the esports future. This session is sponsored by the Digital Isle of Man, and it's basically talking a little bit about how esports at first glance is not as accessible as it might seem, and how we can kind of continue moving on within the future, kind of improving those aspects and elements. For our moderation today, we have Craig joining us from FMU, and for our speakers, we have John from Riot Games, Michael from SideQuest, Mark from Intel UK, and Liam from the Digital Isle of Man. Please put your hands together for them.
All right, so we have the good fortune of closing out this fabulous conference that's been going on for the last 2 days. A lot of the topics have kind of crossed over and built up on each other, and now we have another important topic and an issue to be able to go ahead and share with everybody. So Craig Skilling, I'm the Director of Innovation Technology, Entertainment, and Esports at the only historically black college and university in Miami, Florida. So when you think Miami, you think South Beach, and you hear all this glitz and glamour, but I'm in a location where the university has little access in the surrounding community to Wi-Fi, little access to smartphones within the external community. So we've opened up the first LAN center to be able to serve the community, to be able to have them come in and actually game. So I'm looking forward to introducing our panelists today. They'll introduce themselves. John, why don't we start with you and come on down?
Hi, I'm Jonathan Tilbury. I work for Riot Games. I look after what we call competitive experience, which is a unique function we have in Europe and the Middle East, which focuses on building out amateur gaming communities and making sure that there's infrastructure there to support them, both to support our professional competitions, but also to provide an elevated game experience for our broader players, whether they aspire to be professional or not.
Hi, my name's Michael Mulholland. I'm marketing manager for SideQuest Gamers Hub. We are a gaming hub chain across the UK, and what we do is we offer a safe space for gamers to come and play, whether it's PC games, console games, tabletop and card games, everything from casual gamers to esports players. We provide that space and build those communities.
Cool, yeah, so my name's Mark Broom. I'm part of the marketing team at Intel in the UK. I look after anything you see from Intel in the UK directly within the gaming and esports space. So if that's any digital campaigns, social media presence, content creation, event attendance, like we were at Insomnia last week, relationships with influencers, but probably the most relevant here is all of our partnerships with our esports partners, so like ESL, NSC, and Epic LAN.
Hi, my name is Liam Slack. I work for the Isle of Man government. Our goals are around building the infrastructure for esports and helping the industry, both where we are and then globally, be able to continue to grow and thrive and everything in that vein. I've been in this role for about a year now, but prior to that as well, I worked for Bandai Namco Entertainment and did the global esports operations for Tekken World Tour, Soul Calibur World Tour, and Dragon Ball FighterZ World Tour. Yeah, and that's my background and relevance to foundation setting for esports.
All right, so another amazing group of panelists over here to really bring this whole thing to life. From the venue side, the government side, the publisher, operator, right? We can keep going on and on, the corporation side. Gentlemen, tell the audience, what does good foundation really mean to you in your own localized self, and how you're bringing that to life within what you do?
So it's a hard question to answer. My answer would be so broad. For us, good foundations mean a healthy ecosystem, a healthy competitive landscape full of partners that can elevate that kind of competitive experience for players. That's important to us because it's not just part of what we promise with our games as a publisher that makes competitive titles, but it's also an essential feeder, essential foundation to all of the professional esports that we've kind of made our name on. We need good foundations. We need a healthy grassroots ecosystem, not just to provide players for these professional leagues, but also to provide casters, talent, make sure that there are event organizers, referees, all of those things that you need to make a professional ecosystem work. There has to be a place for them to grow and develop and practice their skills. And the same is true as well for commercial partners. Smaller opportunities that they can dip their toes in and build confidence in esports before they make an investment in professional competition. So good foundations for us are that a healthy landscape, a healthy ecosystem sitting below professional competition that can support everything that professional ecosystem needs. Now, there is so much more to it than that. That's its role as a foundation. To us, amateur competition is far more important than just what it does for the professional scene. So, the foundation part's important, but we do it. We would do it anyway because we believe that that's something that is part of that core player experience. There's more to League of Legends or Valorant than just playing ranked ladder like 8 hours a day. You need something to aim for. And we want to make sure that every player, regardless of the skill level that they play at, has the ability to do that and has something aspirational that they can target.
For us, a good foundation is about understanding how players that are interested in getting into the esports scene, how they go about making that step from casual gaming, hardcore gaming, up until this is what we want to do professionally, this is where we want to take it. So we have these hubs that are designed to allow those players that have that interest to cater to their needs, providing them with the equipment they need, working with esports teams, working with professionals to make sure that people that might not necessarily have, say, the equipment or the means to do so, they then have a space where they can come in, they can experience as close to that next step to getting into the esports scene. As well as not only creating a space, but we also really have a strong focus on our communities. The friends that you play games with might not necessarily be the friends that you are the ones that you want to pursue an esports career in with. You might be the one who carries your friends whenever you play games. So trying to provide a space where you can interact with people that play the games you want to focus on, where you have your passion, and being able to say, hey, I see you every time I come in, you're playing League of Legends and my friends are bad, for lack of a word, and you start that conversation, you start building those communities, you start building those teams and those friendships, and that way you start to look at pursuing it as a career path as opposed to I am stuck where I am. This is not what I want to pursue, I just can't make that step. So SideQuest, what we try and do is help facilitate that growth from playing to actual pursuit and understanding of where that grows industry-wise.
Cool. Yeah, I think from our side, there's probably two main angles. I think the first angle is obviously from a technology point of view. We need to make sure that technology is accessible for everyone, right? Whether that's at schools, colleges, unis. If you're not going to education, we just need to basically create a decent level of performance across the price stack so that if you are trying to get into PC gaming and stuff, you're going to get a good experience based on whatever hardware that you're utilizing. And then the second angle is definitely supporting the wider ecosystem, right? We've got a partnership with ESL at a global level. That covers the professional sort of side, but definitely something we've been trying to do in the UK and as well as a good number of other countries is looking for those smaller grassroots communities, organizations that we can help support. Yes, there's some financial support that goes into that, but also give them access to hardware, give them access to some people with inside Intel, access to our logistics network and all that kind of stuff. So through our partnership with the NSC, Epic LAN, ESL UK, we're always looking for ways that we can just give people options to compete, right? And I think, John, you mentioned it, with the NSC, we've got Intel Future Gen. It's not just about supporting the player base, it's supporting the wider ecosystem. That's about finding the next leaders, and a few of them are down there. So it's about mentoring them and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's there's a technology angle, but I'm more passionate about just supporting the wider ecosystem and the smaller guys as well.
I'll speak to it from two perspectives from my history within esports. From the government perspective that I have presently, it's highly important that businesses that are opening up within this new industry have appropriate understanding and support for things like business grants or development of what is a new digital product, and that the infrastructure from data servers for large-scale businesses or fiber access for businesses, that infrastructure physically is really important to have in place for the success of the likes of esports venues or computer cafes and everything in that vein. From a previously within a publisher perspective, the most important thing for us at Bandai Namco when it came to our esports side of things was engaging with the local communities, integrating them into what our esports scene looked like, partnering with even down to the smallest 16-person tournaments arranged at a local cafe, and integrating them into our point system and giving them a direct means of being part of that ecosystem so that they independently have their own local community culture and can build around their brands, but still have that wider network that they are part of and that they can share and be connected with.
So building the community. Mark, you mentioned accessibility. Show of hands in the audience, how many think accessibility is a big issue in our esports industry? All right, so we have to have the solution. We have to see what are some of those solutions, what are the corporations doing. Mark, kind of just share what you're doing at Intel on your side within your company as it relates to accessibility within our industry.
Yeah, so in terms of being like enabling people access to technology, right? We've got a few different programs. Probably the best example I've got within the UK is the stuff we're actually doing with the NSC, where I think when we first started the engagement, it might have been one of the first conversations we had was, you know, a lot of students don't have access to high-performance PCs, or if they want to run their own LAN parties or society events, they just couldn't do it because universities didn't have that kind of setup. So we actually started working on a project called Event in a Box, and it's pretty much what it sounds like, trying to provide an event to the students in a box. We actually started that conversation in 2019, and we were so close to launching it in 2020, but we all know what happened. So we had to revisit that, I think, towards the end of last year, where we thought, okay, let's see what we can do. So we basically worked with all the main people that I could work with inside Intel in terms of our demo depot, hardware provisioning team, and all that kind of stuff. We basically found 24 to 30 devices that we could kit up into a box, a flight case. We found monitors, we found peripherals and stuff like that, network switches, merch, and all that kind of stuff. So what we did, we worked with the NSC team and said, look, can we find 2 unis? Let's just try this out, right? Because we're going to be doing this. We're not going to be sending people. We need this to be accessible, easy for them, plug and play. So we found 2 unis. They did a cracking job in terms of the pilot events. And then I think, you might have to correct me, another uni caught wind of that and then reached out. So this pilot basically lasted for about 8 months, 9 months. So effectively it is, you know, we work with the teams that we've got access to in terms of our logistics team, our supply chain teams and stuff like that. So there is no cost to the students, no cost to the universities, no cost to NSC. We deal with all of it. They put a request in for an event. We go, yep. We send them flight cases, plug and play. They run their event, pack it all back up again, and back it comes. We start off with 1 kit. We're now on 2 kits. Hopefully, coming up, we want to expand that to 4 kits. And we're actually thinking about university space is great, but actually this is a service and a solution that we could offer out. You know, if you wanted to run your own LAN party in a village hall, if you want to do something with your mates, if there's schools, colleges, can we take those 4 kits to 10 kits? Because we've got the infrastructure to be able to support that. Let's make the most of it. So yeah, that's probably the best example of that.
Love it, love it. And let's just go right next door. So Michael, you have the venue on your side. How are you guys going ahead and supporting and providing access within various communities?
So when we're talking about our hubs and wanting to expand, like it's very important to us because our ethos as a company is to be a gaming hub for everyone. Now that's a difficult proposition to put unless you have locations around the UK and further beyond. So that because then you start to run into, as we're talking about, the issues with good foundations, whereby people don't have access to our communities. So, like, as we start to expand, we're looking at franchising options. We're looking at being able to talk to people, talk to local communities, talk to local councils and other investors that are looking to, that see the appeal of the sports industry within their local areas, and we can work together to open up those locations. Aside from that, we've also looked at what we offer as a gaming hub and offer as a company. And what we can do beyond just offering physical locations. And so what we're currently looking at is offering a platform for gamers and esports players that provide unique and tangible actual applications for them to grow them professionally in the world of esports. I can't say too much more about that at this time. There's some stuff in the works in which we can that we're hoping to announce very soon, but that's something that we're really focused on, making sure that we don't separate the community that just come to our physical hubs, and helping people understand what we can offer them remotely as well.
And John, you can go ahead and pick it up and kind of piggyback, because from our conversations throughout the last few days, you guys are doing some great things on that side. You gave a model that could be pretty effective for everyone to follow.
Yeah, so I think I naturally think about accessibility in a slightly different way. One of our goals is to get as many people playing competition as possible, but there is an accessibility challenge there. Most people don't feel like they're good enough to play in esports competition. They expect to be at the they expect to get beaten in the first round of any tournament that they play in. And so we talk a lot about, internally, we talk a lot about accessibility of tournament design, competition design, especially in the amateur and grassroots space. How do we make competitions that people, no matter what skill level they are, feel comfortable playing in? And that means exploring tournament formats that rapidly skill match players and teams, and making different design decisions with our products that ensure that, you know, it's not a case of you go in and you lose 8 matches in a row and you never play in a tournament again. Our goal is not to create grassroots tournaments that generate the best team at the end of it. Our goal is to create grassroots tournaments that are as satisfying as possible for everyone. And this is a challenge, and it's especially in the UK, it's a big cultural challenge, because I think I spent a long time working in the UK industry specifically before I moved into my current role, and I've always worked in grassroots esports. Getting 100 teams to sign up for a UK tournament is very difficult, and suddenly I had exposure to markets like Spain and Germany, and the participation figures for amateur competition are crazy. They have tournaments there with 1,200, 1,500 teams playing in that competition. That doesn't happen in the UK, so that's something that culturally we're trying to change. And one of the ways that they've got to that point is to embrace these tournament formats that aren't necessarily about hardcore competition, but are about accessibility. Accessibility in terms of skill, accessibility in terms of time. And we've started trying to transplant some of those learnings from Spain, for example, where the Spanish Riot team have an amazing competition called Circuito Tormenta that I would encourage everyone to go and look at, and try and take some of those learnings and apply them in other markets. So in Valorant, for example, we've just launched the VRCs across EMEA in different regions, and it's a circuit model where you have a number of individual events that teams can play in to earn points, and then the top teams at the end of the season play in a finals to find the ultimate winner. And this is a great example of accessible tournament design. If it was a league, if it was an 8-week league for amateur teams, then straight away players have to make an 8-week commitment to playing in the competition up front. Now, if they have a summer holiday planned with their family, or they're not sure if they're going to enjoy the entire thing, then making that commitment up front is challenging. But by using these circuits, we allow people to enjoy individual competitions that are time-boxed to a very specific window. And if they enjoy them, they can choose to play in the entire thing. So that's one example of how we think about accessibility in terms of designing these kind of grassroots amateur competitions.
I'm going to piggyback on that question. How would I know about that? I'm Johnny. I'm Susie. I want to know. I'm getting in it. My career pathway is taking me to the top. How are you guys, demonstrating that? Is there a social strategy behind that, or do I just have to find out about the next tournament and know that it's Riot Games that's doing this and giving me an opportunity?
So again, that brings us on to another type of accessibility, which is that information accessibility. How do you find out about these competitions that are taking place? And this is where we really try to embrace the most powerful publishing platforms that we've got, which are in-client. So we're always exploring how can we get information about these competitions into our game clients. And hopefully over time we'll see more and more of this. But we've done it a lot in League of Legends. We can now do it in Valorant as well. And then that's coupled with wider scheme. And I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but just to quickly add that one of the other ways that we market these circuits is indirectly through the way that they're designed. They are not 8 Riot competitions stitched together into a circuit. Like I said at the beginning, for us, good foundations means a healthy ecosystem where there are a number of partners, events like Epic LAN and Insomnia that are successful and sustainable. And these circuit models let us bring all of those different organizations together and help them work together and help push them together. So in the UK VRC that we have for Valorant, it's run by ProMod. It's called Beacon. It's an awesome competition. And the individual competitions within that circuit include Epic LAN, DreamHack. There are events in there by pro teams, etc. So it allows us to bring everyone together and kind of create this virtuous circle of marketing where you can find out first about the circuit, and then that unlocks that information for you about all of these other key community landmark events that are going on, and hopefully helps raise everyone in the ecosystem up to a higher level of success.
Liam, did you want to add anything to that? And offline, I saw Liam. He was already connecting with these gentlemen to see about bringing, whether it's the LAN center over to this side, bringing that over here. And then the question comes back, well, what is the government doing to help if they decide to come there? So Liam, you bring the government perspective, not only on the accessibility side, but really fully, how are you supporting individuals like this and the community at large?
Our main focus is on really directly working with the partners who are looking to build out infrastructure and esports support on the island. We have a really strong existing business system that is built out on other digital industries that we've worked with previously that can allow businesses that are within the esports industry that are trying to scale to that global stage. It provides a business ecosystem in which those businesses have local partners that can help them scale to a larger level. From an accessibility standpoint, we are a small island. We've got 33 miles high by 12 across, so when a business opens on the Isle of Man, everyone on the island will swarm to it to see what it's about within the first week. So there's less of an issue on that side of things, but it's really a major focus for us that businesses that do want to set up with our region have direct support from the government, that have that promotion to our local communities, and have grant support, availability support for funding to set up their businesses and support their businesses moving forward.
So guys, I want to shift it a little bit. We can't make it seem like we're solving all the problems in 20 minutes, but we do have to acknowledge that there are some challenges, barriers to entry, and things that are preventing us from doing this in our own areas. If you guys can just highlight a few, one or two, doesn't have to be everybody, but in terms of the system, the ecosystem, what challenges are preventing us from really doing a better job as it relates to accessibility as a whole. I'll give you an example. On our side, in our market, I met the women in gaming over here. That's great to see. I'm serving a minority population, right? But I'm still having to convince the educational ecosystem to let them understand that this is a viable option, not only for a career, but also for them to be able to get an academic education. So that's something that we have to deal with as a whole. On your sides, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing directly in your roles?
I think I think the main challenges is just the wealth of opportunity, right? Especially in the role that I'm in and the company that I'm in, I do get a lot of questions and a lot of queries about how we can support. I think from my side, it feels like there's a load of like I say, pockets of opportunity. Like a load of partners wanting to get into this space. They know there is a huge target audience effectively. I think where we can help is, we can't do it all, but we've got a huge partner base. You know, we work with a lot of OEMs, we work with a lot of local system integrators, we've got a huge network. So what we've done definitely over the last 3-4 years is when organizations or venues or other partners come to us and say, look, can you help? We can match make, right? So that's something that we've been trying to do, is sort of utilize our position in the market and sort of help those maybe smaller organizations get match made with some other partners and see what they can do as a sort of tri-party partnership. That's probably the biggest challenge I face, is just the amount of opportunities out there.
To jump on what you said as well about the breadth of the opportunity, it's one of the things that we found is really difficult to manage, is the size and scope of the esports industry has so many different types of stakeholders with so many different pain points and different kinds of issues. The issues of a publisher is different than the issues of a team, and the issues of a team is very different than the issues of a tournament operator and a broadcaster. So in terms of creating bespoke government support for the esports market as a coined term, you have to be going out to events like these. A panel that a roundtable that we held earlier on was about identifying pain points of different businesses within the industry and trying to identify what were common trends. So visa applications for going out to tourism-based events, things along the lines of availability of advertising and marketing material and everything along those lines. So that's been our challenge, is finding the common through threads for all of these different sectors of businesses that operate under an esports umbrella.
Want to add anything to that, John?
Yeah, I think monetization of grassroots propositions is a big challenge as well. Professional esports and viewership and amateur participation-driven esports, they're completely separate value chains. And one is really sexy and easy to see the value and the reach because you've got a broadcast with millions of people watching. And the other one is a lot harder for brands and partners to see the value in, but is, as we've all been saying, critically important to the health of everything that's going on. And there are brands and partners like Intel who see the value in those grassroots propositions and see that there's especially from the perspective of recruitment, for example, engaging with a hyper-engaged group, those that play in tournaments, is different to engaging with a relatively limited engagement group that you get through broadcast. So grassroots propositions are differentiated from these professional broadcasts and therefore have a lot of value. But I think that brands are just maturing to esports as a whole now. And the low-hanging fruit are all broadcast propositions and viewership propositions with professional teams. So a barrier to growth of that foundational space is absolutely making sure that these competitions can wash their own face and provide the value for the rest of the ecosystem they need. And therefore, I would encourage anyone here that has any influence on a brand or on a potential partner that can get involved in the space to have that conversation, because these competitions are critical and have a lot of value and implications upstream for competitions all the way up to World Championships.
Michael, did you want to touch on the decline in the esports industry? You had mentioned you had a conversation about that, and the viewership from what John just spoke about. You thought that might be something that could impact your business as a whole. Do you want to touch on that?
One of the biggest impacts that we've noticed recently, obviously, being at a venue location and a physical venue location, is obviously everyone's aware of the last couple of years and how that's impacted having those sort of events, those sort of tournaments, and how that's affected our business, the business as a whole. And to come back round to looking at how the government can help support that, looking at we've seen a lot of decline in things like social hubs and places that people can feel safe, and there's been not a huge amount of government backing to help rebuild and provide those spaces, because there are people that are still very much at risk and that need a safe space. where we feel that we can provide those spaces for people to really get them to come together, grow those communities again, get them involved more with the esports scene, start to grow it that way, and start to grow those those communities from what they were, where they have declined for the last couple of years.
Are there any audience questions that we're thinking? Because I think we have a few minutes to do that, but I have one more question for him, but we do want to be able to open it up to the audience. So after this round, you'll get a question on there. Guys, in closing, and this might be his question right here, you have individuals that want to hold us accountable. We're here to network. We're meeting individuals. We're hearing. We're learning on that point. So we have to be able to deliver on the same token. If one of these individuals stands up and says, I want to be the solution to some of those problems over there, how is it that they can connect with you? What is it that you're looking for to see in terms of a proposal, a pitch, where they are? Is it an independent business, private? Do they need to be a large-scale company? What do they need to have so they're in order when it's time for them to say, hey, Michael, I'm coming to your venue. Can I rent it out and host my event? And then bring John over there. And then Intel, come in here and provide me with those packages. And then, hey, Isle of Man, why don't you support me from a tourism standpoint and give me that funding so I make it all happen out of pocket? What are you guys looking for? Loaded question, I know.
Yeah, so, well, you can connect with me over a beer later if you want to. In terms of what am I looking for, I think John sort of mentioned it a little bit around numbers and the viewership and all that kind of stuff. It is being recorded, so I've got to be careful. But do I care about it? Yes, but it's not the only thing, right? I'm not just looking for data. I'm looking for who you are, personalities. Do you have a business plan? What are the opportunities and all that kind of stuff? But it's more about the opportunity. Who are we supporting? Is it younger generation, older generation? Who are we actually supporting there? You know, if you need hardware support, reach out. If you want monetary contribution, reach out and all that kind of stuff. I'm always willing to listen. We're always willing to listen. You know, we've supported a good number of organisations over the last 3-4 years in the UK, and we'll continue to do that.
If you're a business that wants to partner with Riot, Intel, SideQuest, and host an event on the Isle of Man, you can reach me up there for sure. Please do. No, separately from that, if you guys are interested in, if you're a mid-sized business and you're looking to scale to a global kind of level and you're looking for the infrastructure support that can support that, we've done that with digital industries elsewhere, and we have businesses that can help with supporting that. So you can find us, Digital Isle of Man, on the internet, or you can hit me up afterwards and we'll talk.
And, you know, at Riot, we talk about player-first decision-making all the time, like putting players first all the time. And it sounds like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but it's true. Like, that's the way we work, and we've maintained that mentality throughout all of Riot's life. So what we're always looking for is something that identifies a real player need and addresses it. Like something that addresses a real player need, that something that players are looking for and cannot find in the ecosystem right now, and delivers on that for them. And yeah.
For SideQuest, we're all about just creating the very best experience for anyone that enjoys gaming, whether you're casual gaming or whether or not you think you are going to be the next part of an esports team. What we want to do is we just want to be able to be there to provide the very best for people that are trying to help find their way in terms of their own personal gaming journey or their own career path. I think that's a huge thing that is an undertaking for everyone that's part of this industry, to help people that it's not the easiest industry to understand, especially when you look at the decisions that people lead to wanting to make that career path is usually at such an age where people outside of what we do don't understand. So to be able to provide a space where we can make make people come together and have the same goals and same aspirations, and what the industry and partners can do and the teams can do, I think that's a huge step to providing those good foundations to those paths that we have all been on part of to some degree.
I think we have time for this gentleman's question, and then we have to wrap up, and these gentlemen will all be available afterwards. But
Thank you very much for the session. So we're talking about accessibility, we're talking about infrastructure, and we're talking about the future of esports. So one topic is women in esports. And my question is, of course, we see big underrepresentation of women right now in the competitive scene and in high top-tier esports right now. So my question is twofold, actually. First of all, why do you think this is happening? And second, what should we do to help close that gap between male and female representation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, look, I'm far from an expert on this, so I'm not qualified to answer, but I've always assumed that a lot of it is because, especially PC gaming, where esports has evolved, requires quite affluent communities with access to hardware, and so it's kind of snowballed from there, and now we have to retrospectively address that. That's always been my assumption.
I'll take it from a stab on my side and what we saw in the States, and I think we have to close up, they're telling us. But first off, esports in itself is something that throws a lot of people off, right? Unless you're in it, per se. So it's the video game industry. And if we don't educate those from a younger age, and this is why this panel is needed in terms of the accessibility. So when all they're hearing, they don't know what esports is. They can just tell you, oh yeah, I'm playing Call of Duty, I'm doing this, I'm on that, I'm doing it on my own from a younger age. But some of them can't, and they're not getting the access to do it at a professional level, so they never even aspire for it. They're just doing it for fun. They're playing mobile games. So until we do that and identify that there are stars of all kinds, right, no matter what it is, of all communities, truly make it inclusive, we start to see representation. They say representation matters. I believe when we see that more so, then you'll start to see it become, more inclusive. We'll need more panels and conferences like this, and I'm the founder of the Black Innovation, selfless plug, sorry, Black Innovation Technology Entertainment Conference. We're in 12 cities in the U.S. and going to the island of Barbados. So what I'm doing is more grassroots, like a lot of these gentlemen, and bringing it to underserved communities and partnering within individuals who can make an impact. It has to be grassroots. That's the only way until we can say it gets there. Yeah.
I'll speak quickly to my time previously with Bandai Namco as well, because within the fighting game community side of things, representation is one of the things that is truly celebrated. You look at examples within Tekken like Gianna Carter, Cuddlecore, who we look to really emphasize when people of different ethnicities, of minority backgrounds are driving and succeeding within the space. And we like to make sure that our competition structures have been structured in a way that is accessible to local communities, allowing, again, to that point, the smallest scale of tournament. If you're able to take part in that in wherever you are, then and you're able to create that from a baseline standard and build your local community where you are, we give you that accessibility, then celebrate the people who are success stories within that. That's the way that you can go about it. And represent those people not just by a competition standpoint, but also on camera, making sure that diversity is seen across the board, because that's how it is in the real world.
Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of John, Michael, Mark, Liam, myself, this concludes our panel. Thank you, thank you.